It is so good to see you as our first Wednesday night Bible study begins back. And we're going to be in I'm not going to say it's a series, but just kind of a new direction through the summer as we're going to deal with questions, and questions that a lot of times I get and questions that you will continually bring up through the summer about different issues. So we kind of describe this as let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And these issues that are relevant to our Christian faith, that are part of our process and our walk. So tonight, the first one that was kind of brought up to me on a regular basis is talking about media. Pastor Lott, describe for us media and the Christian formation, the Christian foundation. Describe how media and Christianity are going to run together. And so tonight I'm going to jump into this. Now, bear with me, because as I teach, sometimes I'll get a little more than just preaching off the surface stuff. So just bear with me as I kind of break us through this and we walk through this. And then what I'll do is I'll stop and I'll ask questions, give you an opportunity to ask questions about media, about Christianity, and then I'll go into the conclusion of how do we react? How do we finish? Okay, so let me just begin. And when we begin this discussion on media and the Christian formation, or how Christianity is operating in media, as a pastor and as a leader, understand that my role is to try to be in front of people, to try to be an example to people. That's why I don't go to casinos, even though they have really good, cheap buffets, and I'm a big seafood buff. And I've been asked several times, hey, you ought to go with us, and many times we've fished down on the coast, and we even put our boat in right there by where they sell that seafood, and right there, and yet at the same time, I can't, because as a leader, there's certain things I have to show examples of. Not that just eating seafood there is a horrible thing, but what it encompasses could create problems and could create a lot of issues and could cause someone else to trip and fall. So there's a lot of things in our lives, especially as pastors, we have to be that. And so one of those is media. So let me go ahead and lay this out first. I do not have Facebook. I do not have Instagram. I do not try to become TikTok famous. I am not trying to do anything in the media department other than posting and being able to preach sermons and have them posted. Media is a wonderful thing, but it's also a very dangerous thing. And so the problem with media is the fact that now it has reached such a place in our lives, and it's reached such a place in our society that we gain our identity from our media now. This is becoming the problem. So as we just jump into this, that's what I'm going to separate tonight, is understanding that most of us, we are living in a time where our Facebook, our Instagram, if I told you today, get off of Facebook. If I told you today, do not just close out your account, it would almost put some of you in the grave. You would be up all day worrying about and hearing about, wondering what I missed, and it is difficult. It's very, because our society has built it in now that this is the way that we have genuine relationships. What the big sale has been over the last 20 to 30, 40 years has been that through media we will create relationships. We will give you a place to, what's the word they use all the time? To connect. We will help you connect with your family. I mean, even if grandma can't see you no more, you can put a little box on the side and grandma can push one button and there's the grandkids, and we will connect. And if you think that means as much to grandma as you walking in that door and hugging her neck, you've lost your mind. But the sale is that you have connected with grandma. Just as same as being there. Through media, we can do all of these things. So we get this mindset that I must post stuff. I have to put my pictures up. Hey, let's take a picture. Let me put it up on. Why? Because I want everybody to see where we are. My identity. I gotta like that or dislike that. I gotta watch this. Hey, did you see this? I'm gonna send it to you. And we're constantly connecting. And we do this because ultimately, because our society has moved this way, we want to belong. We want to connect. We want to feel productive, or we want to feel like we're achievers. We're successful. And by posting stuff and by being connected and having so many friends and having so many connections and having so many, it makes us feel in our identity that we're not alone. And this is the way the world is moving. And this is the way it's moving at a very rapid pace. Charles Taylor described it as this way. It's social imagery is what we're moving into our day and age. Every generation has social imagery. And if I say the 60s, what were the 60s like? The roaring, the age of innocence, young love, all the 50s songs and 60s songs and the doo-wop music. And okay, when I say the 70s, okay, now we're starting to move into a little more acid, and we're starting to get into wild love and all. Instantaneously, because listen to me, what we try as a society is to create social imagery because every age is defined by it. When we look back 20 years, even people that are doing their graduations now, and they're saying, 20 years from now, we're going to look back and they're going to say the class of 2020 was why? Because they want to have a social image. They want people to remember them. And so in our day and age, we're looking for the social image. Or let me put it another way. We're looking for the story. We're wanting to tell our story of a human condition and how we live together in it. What was life like together? There's some good in that. There's some bad. There's some things right now that we as a society are trying to change because the way it was in the 60s wasn't as good. And the way it was, and we're trying to, it doesn't mean that it was perfect at any of those times. It just means that someone would say, when I grew up, this is the way it was. My dad, I don't know how he did it, but when he grew up, he walked to school uphill. He walked uphill to school, and he walked uphill back home. I don't know how he did it, but he walked uphill both ways. It was a hard life when my dad was growing up. And I grew up hearing him talk like that. I was trying to figure out for years, like, man, them folks had a hard life, towing cotton sacks and doing this. I mean, it's a wonder any of them even lived. Because the social imagery that they wanted is that we grew up and we worked and we were this. And so the story of humanity and the condition that we live together, the problem is that in our modern world, the social imagery, the story that they're trying to tell is in total contradiction to the story of Christ. Therefore, there is this huge conflict that is taking place. Let me say it this way. If I say our society, what would you describe our society as? Somebody give me a description of our society. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's selfishness. It's divided. Okay? How about if I say it this way? No. Our society is a family. Black, yellow. Well, I learned the song when I was a kid. Red and yellow, black and white. We are precious in His sight. I don't know where y'all came from, but where I came from, my society is we're one big happy family. How about if I look at you and I say worth? How do you gain worth?
In our society.
In our society.
Your position.
Your position, how much you make. Bill Gates, man, he's worth a lot. So-and-so's worth a lot. Somebody who's homeless or down, they're not worth a lot. Well, in my world, guess what? We are priceless. Jesus died for everybody. In fact, the preacher I heard growing up said, even if it had just been one little old poor person that would have given his life, Jesus would have died for him. And I'm thinking, wow. How about if I look at you and I talk about life? What's life worth in our society? If I say life, not worth very much. Just try to get what you can as long as you can. You're probably going to die of, the coronavirus. You're going to die of something. You're going to die of flu or, somebody's going to shoot you at the gas station. Something's going to happen bad to you. Just enjoy it while you can. But if I say life, if you ask me, I'm like, man, I've got eternal life. I got a good life. And even if this one ends for some odd reason, it's okay. Because as a Christian, I'll never die. I just transition from here to a better place. If I talk about values, In this society, if I say values, well, it's just, everybody has their own beliefs and everybody's raised and everybody, what's right for you may not be right for me. Well, I grew up where my values are my father's values. What the father has said is right, and what the father has said is wrong is wrong. I grew up trying to please my father. I'm part of his family. Do you see the conflict when you're on your social media and you're listening to do you see how it is in contrast every single time you turn it on? From the news to everything that you get, it is a stark contrast. They are crashing head on to each other. That's why we're in such a struggle. The world that has no value, no life value, no anything. And therefore, here we are as Christians. How do we get in this? And so, let me explain it this way, and read this to you to kind of give you an idea of how this process worked. I'm pulling articles as we go along. So like I said, tonight is about information. It's teaching. So when we talk about, okay, we're from a different story, a different identity. Here's what is spoken. Digital communication is like fast food. It's quick, cheap, and easy. So when you're talking about relationships inside a society, in our society, what we think of is our digital communication, our connecting with people is like fast food. It's quick, cheap, and easy. It requires no significant investment, no time, no money. It's often consumed on the go. It does not leave us full long, so we come back for more later, only to cause us, and it is detrimental then to our health. We're constantly eating but never full. Face-to-face communication is the best, and it is a feast. Unlike fast food, it requires a commitment of time, of money, of energy. You lay aside other pursuits for the sake of spending time with a person in front of you. A feast is a multi-course meal designed to satisfy partakers, and a feast cannot be rushed. You can't rush it. That's the contrast in I want to have friends. Really? Are those friends? I want to have likes. Really? Do they like you? Really? Or do they like the fact you just fell down the stairs and you posted and they say, "Oh, I like that." But what is it that you're trying to create? In our society, we're trying to create genuine relationships through a fast food mentality. Hey, I'm going to show you a picture of me. Do you like me? Hey, I'm going to post one thing. Do you like me? Hey, I'm going to put this up. Do you like me? Will you be my friend? And it's even worse when you reach out to somebody else and say, "Will you friend me?" And they say, "No." So-and-so wouldn't even be my friend. So in our society, we're constantly dealing with this. Let me give it to you in this way. Let's call it by its name. It's called permanent connectivity. That's what our social society is trying to create. Permanent connectivity. You are connected at all times, whether it's through your television, your radio, through whatever, your phone, your watch, it doesn't matter. You are constantly, media, when in the start, anybody remember the 90s? Anybody back from the 90s? Most of y'all in here from the 90s. Some of y'all, no, you didn't see the 90s. But the 90s, we had media. And when the superhighway first started, that's what we described. It's the superhighway of knowledge. And remember that thing when you'd punch, you tick, 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 and then you'd hit enter, and then you just kind of like go get some tea or something, because that thing start making noise. And it'd be kind of like putting stuff up and slowly printing it out for you on your computer screen. Some of y'all don't remember, y'all just think, Lord. But that was the superhighway. If you wanted to know about insects, ants, it was incredible. You didn't have to go get a book. You didn't have to go to the library. It was everything you ever wanted to know about humanity was right in front of you. And so it was a chat rooms. Anybody remember chat rooms? You didn't see anybody. They'd type something to you and you type something back to them. And we got into a lot of trouble with a lot of that stuff because some of those people didn't exactly look like they said they did, and they didn't exactly, wasn't no where you could see them then. It was just a chat room. You just chatted with a bunch of people. And hey, let's just go to the chat room. And so you had chat rooms. Anybody remember first shopping online? Oh, man. When you could order something online and somebody would bring it to your house or drop it off at your work. You thought you were upscale. I ordered that. I didn't even go to the store. My information, chat room, shopping, that to us was media. And what it was a place where we could connect and then disconnect. It was a place where we could enter in and get the information and then we would exit back into our world. Well, what eventually happened in today's connectivity, it's a lot different. As we grew closer and closer, now connectivity doesn't mean entering in and exiting. It doesn't mean just going in to shop or going out. What connectivity means today, or being connected, is a state of consciousness. It is being consciously connected. That's why some of you in this room right now could not turn off your cell phone when you walked in here. Because you may get a message. You may get a hit. It may ding. And you try to put it on silent, but you still keep it right by you. Why? Because in our society, we are always connected. We cannot be disconnected. It is a place where it's our human condition. Our humanity is connected to keeping up with the information and all of the things. We move from information to connectivity. Now we've moved to phones and iPhones and watches, and we're always there. We're never out, which is what they want, which is what media loves. Because I grew up as a salesperson. If you'd asked me, Tim, what's the best way to sell groceries? I was a food broker. What's the best way to sell groceries? Well, the best way to sell groceries is tell people they just can't ever leave the store, and every time they get hungry, they just walk over to that aisle and get that, and the next minute they can walk over to that aisle. I mean, if you make them leave, it may be a while before they come back, but if we could ever get them to live in the store, then the food is always accessible, and we've always got them. We've always got them. I know with TV programs and different things that people in our church work, it's gone from, okay, we just do your TV, but now we'll do your internet. Now we do all these programs. Now we'll do the movies for you. Now we'll do, why? Because we want that thing to stay on nonstop. You can even use it as a computer and order your Amazon from it. Why? It's a TV. No. We want you connected. And connected now means that it becomes your human, normal condition. It becomes your state of consciousness. It's the main portal now. Listen to me. It is the main portal for our social lives. Used to, it was going to people's houses. It was, we're going to drive over and see so-and-so. Now it's just call them. Just send them a text. And we think that means the same thing as being connected to someone. And it's okay until we're alone, right? Until your phone gets dropped in the tub. And then the fear of, I don't have a phone. I don't know what's going on. I'm lost. I'm disconnected. I've lost all my contacts. Contacts that if you didn't know their number and it wasn't programmed in your phone, you couldn't dial it. You didn't know their number. You couldn't drive to their house. You would have to have GPS find it for you. But these are all your people, all your friends that you don't know where they live or who they are. And so what happens is we end up, as one writer describes it best, he says, our bodies are here, but our minds are absent. The state that we wind up in is when we're connected to that degree, our bodies can be in this room right now. But we can be. Anybody ever sit at a dinner table with someone and they're there? Anybody ever try to have a conversation with someone and their body is there, but they're not there? One professor, their consciousness then is elsewhere. A teacher wrote this from Virginia, a well-versed teacher. He said, classes matter now, but are more we do the activities to just get them done. In other words, classes matter, but are more of a, we just need to get these activities done. They master the work, but do not take over, or they're not allowed to take over by it. In other words, it's like if I'm in a classroom and I start to take that class, for just that moment you have my attention. And for just that moment, if the professor's describing his classes now, and he says, when I'm teaching, they're there, but they're there only to get the information, only to pass the test, only to get through with it, just so they can get through, just so they can learn enough, just so they can, and he says, they just there to master it, but not to be taken over. In other words, they don't really want to be that. They just need the information so they can become that, so they can make the money to do that, so they can have extra time to do what they want to do. They live in the future and not in the present. Their bodies are here, but their minds are. That's why I heard years ago, you know what, Pastor, you're going to have to start preaching shorter and shorter. And I'm like, I am? Well, you know, people's attention spans, they don't. And I'm like, well, people watch a movie for 3.5 hours. People can listen to music for half the night. Yeah, but they're just not going. And so what we try to come to the conclusion of is that we just have to talk less and be less connected, because people just are not going to do it. Professors are just going to have to finally just cut their classes short, because kids just ain't going to pay attention long enough. He says they live in the future and not in the present. They dwell in possibility. They always are dwelling in what's possible. Possible. You know, I'm going to do this. This is what. And they always keep moving. At the end, he says, it's always the same. As soon as he dismisses his class, they all shut off, go to their cell phones, and walk out of his room. We grasp for the phones like oxygen, he says. Life is the interruption. You ever try to talk to someone when they're doing, it's like, what are you doing? I'm just looking at Facebook and everything. Can we talk? Do we have to talk right now? Why do you want to interrupt my Facebook time with life? Why do you want to interrupt my fantasy world with reality? Anybody ever got to talk to kids these days and teenagers? And I've got a few of them, and say, hey, put your phone down, let's talk. Fine. What do you want? Why? Because, listen, by removing the phone and making them live in the reality, you've taken away their oxygen. Life is the interruption, because they've created a whole community, a whole life. Even though it's not real, even though it's just out there somewhere, it's still the life. And their mindset is, think about it, please release me from lunch. Are we through eating? Can I go now? Please release me from work. I never thought I'd have to tell my kids, do not take your cell phones in to work. Leave them in the car. I never thought I'd have to say that. I mean, you're going to work. You know you're going to work. And I can't tell you how many people that run businesses and people I had to let them go. I couldn't keep them on the phone. Every 5 minutes, they're outside talking on their phone. And I thought, Lord, have mercy. They had a job. But the job was interfering with their life. Don't, please, release me from the meeting. Please release me from driving. Think about it. You're driving 70 miles an hour down a road. Please release me from driving. I just want to be on the phone. I do not want to have to drive. Please release me from sleeping. Yeah, that's why some of you can't sleep. You go to sleep, what's the last thing you do? What's the first thing you do? It's your reality. Life is just bothering you. And we live in a society now that struggles with this. And then you have all that I just said about Christ, that Christ is saying, no, you already have identity. No, you already have value. No, you're already valuable. No. And guess what he describes his life as? He said, I want to I want to spend time with you. I want to, and we're saying, but I ain't got time. I tell you what, Lord, I'll give you the app. I'll get the Bible app and I get a 5-minute devotion. That'll put you on the list of all the other stuff I do every day. Right between the ESPN and the news channel, I'm gonna take that 10 minutes to get my app in. It would be sad if it wasn't true. I'm describing not your lives, just people you watch on general, people you see in life. Please release me from church. I gotta turn my phone off. I'll just put it on silent. Gotta sit here for an hour and a half and listen to all this. Why is he preaching so long? As soon as you get out, then you can, finally. The problem is we don't realize what all it's doing. There's a chemical called cortisol. Cortisol is the fight or flight hormone in your body. It's right up around your kidneys. It is acted when you're under stress. Now, it's a wonderful thing. It's what gives you the thrill when you're riding a roller coaster. It's what does all those crazy things. When you feel stressed out, it kicks in and it's like an endorphin and it's like, ah! The only problem is you don't need it running all the time. The cortisol runs all the time. It creates stress, even when you're not stressed. It creates anxiety and depression. See if this describes a lot of people. Headaches, heart disease, memory loss, trouble sleeping, weight gain. All of this is associated with playing on that phone and continually having information and raising your blood pressure and all the stuff that goes on, and you deal with it to the time you finally close your eyes or until the time you finally wake up. And sometimes in between, you got it to where it beeps in between so you can wake up and get an important message. You've got it rigged to where if the certain person calls, a certain song sings, just so you know exactly who it is. You've got it so programmed, or it's got you so programmed, that it keeps you under constant stress even when you're not. You say, Brother Lott, you talk about, let me just say, studies show that over 70% of people sleep with their phone by their side. Over 70% of people. No wonder some of the main medicines that are used, headache medicines, insomnia medicines. Oh, that's not it. Yeah. You might want to try resting and shutting that brain down. And don't worry, you will get criticized. I get criticized all the time. Well, he don't ever have his phone with him. Nope, I don't. In fact, right now, it's probably in my truck or in my office. And every night when I get home, most of the time, I don't even bring it in the house. I'll leave it in the truck. What if somebody died in the night? I couldn't have stopped it anyway. If God wanted to go ahead and call them on while I was sleeping, He must have made that decision without talking to me. Not being ugly. I can't sit every moment of my life waiting for the next bad news, waiting for the next ding to come across, waiting to make sure who went on vacation and what did they eat last night at their restaurant and what. I can't live every moment of my life. God didn't call us to that. All social media groups. I told you before I was a food broker. That's what I did. I built displays, how to sell stuff, how to put end caps, how to build colors together, how to make stuff. Do you understand that the same people that build casinos, the same marketers that do casinos and do some of the high-tech stuff and the beer commercials and all, you know those are the same people that work for the phone companies? That work for all these media companies. All social media groups market and engineer to keep you hooked. Why do you think they come out with a new something or a new this kind of phone or a new... It's engineered by color. It's engineered by notification. It's engineered to know your tendencies. I can go to my phone tonight, and as I start to leave the driveway, it will ding. And you know what it will say? It will say, you are 15 minutes and 47 seconds from Lake Mississippi. It already tracks me to the point to where it knows my tendency to where I drive every single day. And if I leave Lake, it's going to ding and it's going to say, you are 15 minutes and 47 seconds from Beanville National Forest. And I'm thinking, who's tracking me? Look up something on the internet for a while, soups or something, and just see if that all of a sudden you don't start getting some messages on your advertisement about soups and different. You don't think they're watching you and tracking you and trying desperately to keep you in the community? Even my TV. I like my TV. Even my TV, as soon as the coronavirus hit, I appreciate my network because they were so nice. They said, we're going to give you these free channels for the next 2 months. Now, do you think they were doing that because they were being super nice? Or do you think they did it because last Thursday or Friday when I turned on my TV and I had 50 less channels, I thought to myself, man, I missed that channel. That was the one channel I got to where I was watching. And it was hard for me not to pick up the phone and say, just go ahead and add that back. Just go ahead and I know, $187.47 extra a month. I know, I just go. Nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm telling you, media is a wonderful thing. But if you think that by absorbing and getting yourself involved, that they're there to make sure that you're healthy and it's like a casino. They will pat your back when you walk out broke. And they will say, we did our job. And media will say, when we have absorbed them and there's nothing left and they've got, then we've done our job. From notifications to sounds to effects. Let me show you the effects that it will have on you real quick. It will give you a drive to quantify things. I know this don't sound super spiritual, but it is. The first problem of all the problems I've already shared, another one is that it will give you a drive to quantify your life. That's why on that, it's always, my daughter says, Dad, we need to do something to become TikTok famous. What does that mean? It means we have so many hits that we have become TikTok famous. It's all numerical. It's all quantified. How many followers do I have? How many numbers did I reach? Even the first time when we started to post the sermons online, I had to catch myself the first few weeks watching and worrying about that. I'm like, well, how many people actually watched it? We had 1,500 hits. And then the next week we would have 1,300. I said, well, what happened there? I must have run 200 people off. You see what I'm saying? I know, and this was me just being introduced to it. And I was like, I don't even like this. I don't like being numerically deciding whether I've been good or whether I've been bad, whether somebody gave me a thumbs up or somebody gave me a thumbs down. It's all quantified by how much numbers, how many followers, how many lists, how many. Does that make sense in y'all's world? That's what you go by. It's also a drive to reify your life. Now, reify means there's a promise of abundance. That's what the internet promises, abundance. You get everything you ever wanted. You get anything any way you want. You can get anything on the internet. The problem with that is relationships become a thing. If I get everything, then what happens is the genuine, true relationships that I have, people relationships, become things to me. They become not only numbers, but they become things. They become tasks. Remember I told you that if I'm on the phone and you say, it's time to eat, and I'm like, oh, and I put the phone down or I try to set it beside me, and it's like, I told you to put the phone up. Fine. What is the problem? You have become a task or a thing that I have to overcome to get back to my life. So when you're dealing with young people, especially who from the age of 12 have had a phone and now they're 18, 20, 25 years old, understand this has become normal to them. This is the way they assimilate information. It's the way. So relational people, relational things become a thing. You become, just to deal with you, I'm going to say this, you become an emoji. That was the coolest thing I ever learned, emojis. Because then I had to talk to y'all at all. Thumbs up. Thumbs down. Smiley face. Hey, I'm laughing while crying. That means I'm really happy. Don't even have to say it. Send about 4 of them suckers in a row. Everybody knows what I mean. I'm thinking, well, took care of that. Oh, don't laugh at me. You sit there in front of you, I don't know what to say. Some even go spend money for extra emojis. Bigger emojis, better emojis that even look like you. Now you're really getting famous. I need to get a Tim Lott looking emoji. So then I go. And I know this is funny, but this is real. I'm not trying to just beat you over there. I'm just trying to Lord, everything he's talking about is happening in my house. And it's happening in houses all over. And we wonder, as the Christian world, what is taking place? We're losing interactivity. We're losing. It's a drive to reify. We decide then what to waste or to delete. We decide who to unfriend, whether you're worth my time or not worth my time. Because we don't think of them as people anymore. They're just things that I'm supposed to do. Things you would never tell to somebody's face. You can get away with it on your phone. You can get away with it with media. Number 3, it finally gives you the feel of control. And control is not a good thing in this way. Because what it means is control means that me, myself, I'm at the center of the universe and the world. See, if I'm at the center, I get to choose who's going to be my friends. It's not people coming from outward in, it's coming from inward out. I get to choose what I want to see. I get to choose what I want to do. I get to choose. It's a lot different than growing up in a house with one television set and it wasn't even a remote control. One of us had to get up, and I was the remote control most of the time for my dad. It's like, Tim, get up and change the channel. And I'd be like, ooh, that's good. Tim, I don't want to watch that junk. Turn it up. And my dad would say, there you go, right there. And I don't want to watch that. But what was I doing? I was realizing that the world was attacking or training me from the outside in. What we've done now is we've given phones and media, and we've told everybody that you are the center of the world. There's 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds feel like I'm the center of the world. And everything evolves around me. And I choose what I like and don't like. And I choose. And so in our media radiates out from us. It's not that media is doing something to us. We choose the media and we keep expanding it in the directions we want it to go. It connects you to the liked things. That's why when you pull up cookbooks for a while, you're going to get advertisement. Why? Because the media is deciding that that's the direction you must want to go. And since you're the center of the universe, we're going to give you as much of it as we possibly can. What happens eventually, though, when all of this is enacted into your life, you have what we have today. When it's me and I'm trying to find happiness, what eventually happens is I look at the world through sarcasm. I look at the world through victimhood. And I look at the world through it's not enough. It'll never be enough. I can't get enough. I can't reach enough. I can't do enough. You can't buy enough. I can't see enough. I can't. And our society now is in this community, this social community. And it's not a happy community. They're not posting all the fun stuff and and most of the posts that are with them smiling is just so that you will like them because they themselves don't like themselves. They're needing somebody to say, I'm pretty, or somebody to say that I'm okay, or somebody to say that I'm good, or somebody to say that I'm talented. It's the world we live in today. If you take it to the news media, it's the same story, just in a different version. When we say media, we know there's radio and all this. And so when we talk about the news media is one of the main medias we fuss about and talk about, but understand how we've gotten here. In 1950s, 60s, media in the news was serious news. Serious news. Walter Cronkite. That voice would come on. And this is the news tonight. And he would go through all the news and just share with you what happened and what is taking place. Somewhere in the 60s and 70s, all of a sudden now there became a new style of news, which was an entertainment style of news, a commentary style of news, and shows like Today and Good Morning America. And it was more lighthearted about, oh, so-and-so did this, and we got to see different people share the weather and, then do different cool things in the morning, and it was fun programming, and it was this. And somewhere along the way we realized that, the entertainment draws a lot of people. If we can connect entertainment with the news, we got something. But the only problem is if you let entertainers, without research, without anything, just share news, you're going to have a world of hurt. So when we ask people, do you trust the news, or things people say, fake news, it's not really so much fake news, it's just unverified. It's somebody who got up in the morning, somebody gave them a script and said, here's what you got to read today. Oh, okay, I'm going to read this. And I'm a performer, so I can read it smiling and laughing and joking, and you can dress me up like a clown and I can do the news. Because it's as much entertainment as it is substance. And we live in a world now that says, well, I need information. I need to know the truth. Oh, well, you're going to have a hard time picking through everything that's not verified. But don't worry, if it's wrong, somebody might have to come back in a few weeks and apologize or say we did it wrong. But we live in a society that is at this place. And it's at this place we as a church, as a body, have to live in. So any questions about media? Any questions before I go into talking about the cure itself? Any questions? I will say one of the stories that comes to my mind is my dad, to kind of relate it. And when I see kids with doing this, and we talk about how people become things and it's not a real relationship, I remember how my dad fixed that years ago. My dad would whenever something would take place, first thing I want to do is what? Disconnect. I don't know if your dad was like this, but what was the first thing that he would say? Hey, look at me, boy. I don't know if he called you boy, girl, what he called it. He wasn't calling me Timothy. No, he just said, look at me, boy. And I'd be like, I said, look at me, look at my eyes. What was he trying to do? He was trying to say, we're fixing to be in reality. And not that I'm fixing to, but we're fixing to talk, and we're fixing to be real right now. Whatever you got in your head and whatever you've been thinking, it ain't, look at me. And then as soon as he would relate to me what he meant to say, he would say to me, now what did I just tell you? Look at me and tell me what I just said. Why? Because what he wanted me to do was realize the outside world is teaching you. You're not living in that fantasy world. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. No, he's like, come here. We're going to talk. And so we're a long ways from that now. Now we pick who we want to listen to, and if we don't like what they do, like them, we don't like them, I like them. It's a different world. Any questions about media? Well, that's the whole point. As a Christian, we have to, and we'll talk about the cure. As a Christian, we have to compare everything. See, the world's problem is it has absolutely nothing to compare it to. Because we live in a pluralistic society, well, what was true in the 60s may not be true in the 70s, and what was good for them may not be. So we're not even an immoral society anymore. If you watch the riots and watch everything going on and everything that's happening, and just watch your local news, you'll find out we're not an immoral society. We're an amoral society. An amoral society is different than an immoral. Immoral means I did something wrong, I hope I don't get caught. An amoral society, whatever I choose to do is not wrong for me. I can do whatever I want to do. And I'm surprised that you think it's wrong. You're setting your own standards. You're an amoral society. There is no, but we as Christians, we have to be able to say, no, we have a standard, and therefore we have to make our decisions and stand and live by that. That's why, even in the middle of this chaos, that's why there will be no genuine resolution or solution. I wish there could be, but there won't. Why? Because you can't take immoral and amoral people, put them in a room, and come up with a good solution. What made Martin Luther King Jr. such an incredible man? They keep forgetting this. He was a pastor. I don't know if anybody knows this. He was a man of God. Therefore, his whole demeanor, I'm not going to shoot a gun at somebody. I'm not going to burn down somebody. I'm going to do this. Why? Because my master was peaceful. He had a moral compass, and his moral compass was strong enough, which is what Jesus says, is that love will overdo evil, is that his moral compass was strong enough to stand in the front of hate, and it was able to defeat it. Hate will never defeat hate. Criticism will not defeat criticism. It may push it underground, it may make it hide out, but it won't kill it. And so what we have to as Christians is understand that if you're looking from the news perspective, it's not there. If you're looking from the world perspective, it's not there. To kind of use it in even a funnier or a little more serious, I say funnier, scary, I guess the best word, is it now like Mark Zuckerberg, all those people, now they're fact-checking people when they want to on Facebook, and they're fact-checking people they want. So what they're doing now is they're getting into the business of deciding who's telling the truth and not. So we're used to the media was just, the information highway was just information and you picked it. Now we will help you according to what we believe is right and what we believe is wrong, and whoever pays us the most and whoever our advertiser is, that's who's right now. So we live in a society that, if you're looking from that perspective, it's not built in there. There's no moral compass there. And that's why I said there's the clash. Because the clash is that God is the constant. The Bible is our constant. Everything falls against it and has to align with it. There is anywhere in the media. There is nowhere in media. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed to just give you information. It's just like going to school. Okay, if I send a Christian kid to a school, all right, the school's just the school. It's just going to throw all kind of stuff at them. But the kid who is a Christian kid will have to discern from that what is good, who's a good teacher, who's not a good teacher, it'll have to be in you to be able to wade through it. All right, well, let me give you real quickly the cure. I'll give you the cure. First off, realize your path. Realize the path that we're on. Just like what we just talked about. It's a very good intro to that. Realize that the world we do live in. And just like that funny commercial, that talks about the girl who's going out with this guy, and he says we, and he's like he's a French model, and he's like, I don't think so. He said, oh, everything on the internet's true, and so you're going to have to realize that it isn't, and you got to realize the path that you're on. I am on a Christian path. I am on a godly path. I may see things on the news, see things on Facebook. Some of it may make some sense, some of it. But the best thing is like with me, I'm just not attached to it. It's a waste of my time to wade through. Don't get me wrong. I can turn on the internet if I'm looking up a certain word, or looking up a certain thing, or even information that I needed for the sermon tonight. Okay, I can look at, but I'm not on there looking for my truth. I'm not looking for my identity. It's not there. So, secondly then, you pray to surrender. God wants to spend time with you. And you're going to have to desire. One study showed it this way, that when they asked people how much time they spent on the internet, how many times they checked their phone, how many times most of them put down anywhere from 2.5, 3, 4 hours a day. And that's a lot. 3 or 4, that's almost a third of your day. When they actually did the study on them, when they actually kept up with them, they found out it was 6 or 7. So most of you in here are spending probably twice as much time on your phone as you even think you do. You're probably sitting up in your bed at night longer than you think. You're probably looking at it in between brushing your teeth. You'd be amazed how many times you turn it on, send a text, turn it off, check this. You'd be amazed. I'm surprised as I watch people on a regular basis. You're going to have to counter the former secular formation. You're going to have to decide that I'm not going to fall into that programming. It is a willful decision. You're going to have to, and I'll give you some ways to do that. But it's a decision. It is not something that's just going to, because the world is going to keep coming at you. Even kids now are fixing to have to do most of their schoolwork online. It's all fixing to keep. The media, they want it. And some of the things that we're losing breaks my heart, because I know it may not sound like fun, because I know people now, they like shopping online. I like getting dressed, going down to JCPenney's and walking around and looking for stuff and trying on stuff. And it was part of the journey. It was part of and meeting people as you did it. I know we think we're speeding up and making our lives better by, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to be a lonely person ordering underwear at your house. That's what you're going to be. Waiting for the UPS guy to show up. And he ain't saying hi to you. He's just going to drop it off and run. Because you're going to have to fight this former mindset that, boy, we're making everything better. No, you're not. It's different, but it's not better. Relationships are not better because you've give us phones. In fact, all studies show that relationships now are at an all-time low. We know more people. We have more contacts. But we have less genuine friends than we've ever had. So number one, spiritual disciplines. For me, even the little bit that I deal with, my spiritual disciplines still get taxed. So I can imagine if you're somebody who's headlong in this is going to be tough, because fasting, praying, leaving your phone somewhere and praying and it not being sitting right beside you, doing spiritual disciplines, reading your Bible. I know that sounds, I can just read it on my, no, not on your phone while other apps are coming. Put it down, go throw it in your car, get a book, a Bible. Disconnect and practice spiritual disciplines. Prayer, fasting, giving, spending time and serving, all the different disciplines that you need to do to keep yourself connected and in relationship with Christ. The second is this: do experiments. I mean, I understand. I'm probably talking to people that are complete addicts. I understand, and I'm not trying to tell you to kick the bucket. I'll have to, it would be bad. It would be bad. But start with experiments. Engage in monotasks. See, in social media, you're supposed to do what? Multitask. That's what you've been taught. In social media, it's all, hey, I'm multitasking. I'm doing this while I'm doing this and while I'm driving. I tell you what, practice mono tasking. Let me give you driving. Just drive. No radio. Nothing. Just drive. It is the greatest thing in the world. You actually can hear yourself think. You actually have conversations, and God will step up in them, and you'll be amazed at some of the things you'll actually, just by driving and no sounds at all. How about waiting? Next time you're in Walmart or you're in line and you sitting there and you got to wait. Wait. Don't pull out your phone. I'll tell you what, take a picture of this. It's pitiful. Just, some of y'all did that, huh? I shouldn't have done that. Well, if it makes you feel better, I didn't see it. I promise. Just wait. Just sit there. Pastor Lott, it'll kill me. I said, let's start small. I said experiments. I didn't say go cold turkey. Don't go, don't go no media fast right off, because some of y'all be like, you be in the middle of the night. Brother Lott, I think my wife's got a demon. No, she's addicted. She's just addicted. Hey, how about doing the laundry? And just do laundry. Nothing else. How about eating? Actually fix a table. Don't care if it's plasticware or dishes. Just put actual stuff, utensils. Everybody sits down, but no phone in the house. I know. But you can eat fast. You got to hurry up and see what's up. I'm expecting a call. But just leave the phone and just eat. No. Nothing else. No, just eat. For some of you, this would be huge compared to eating while My daughter does laundry while she's got the Hallmark channel playing on her phone. She's watching love movies while she's washing my sheets. And I'm thinking, Lord, have mercy. It's just waiting and driving. And number 3, learn to guard sacred spaces. Learn to guard sacred spaces in your life. In other words, would you like to sleep? That's sacred to me. That's why my phone is not in my bedroom. Never. It may be in the kitchen getting charged. It may be out in my car. It may be, but it's not near me. That's a sacred space. Sleep is very important to pastor. I don't like nobody messing with it. And when I wake up, I'm happy. Sacred spaces. Turn your phone off. Actually turn it off. No notifications. No anything. Just know that it's off. I can't get nothing else tonight. And put it away from your bed. Set sacred spaces in time. For me, early in the morning is I get up before everybody in my house. That's the quiet time. It's peaceful. If I want to eat a bowl of cereal, if I want to open my Bible, if I just want to sit on the back porch and yell at the dog or just talk to God, I can do whatever I want. Ain't nobody in my house is bothering me. They're all dead to the world. And it's a sacred time for me. It scares me when somebody actually gets up. Caitlin will be the only one usually. And she'll become walking. I'm like, what are you doing up? Dog had to go out. So, but sacred times. What is a time that you can set apart and say, that's sacred? I'm not giving that away. And then places, sacred places. What is a place? Like I mentioned one, like a dinner table. All right, when we eat dinner every night, phones go up. It may be that you do family night sitting on the couch. Okay, everybody go plug their phones up. We're going to sit on the couch together. No phones out here. This is the starting point of you saying that I know I got to have some media in my life. I know I have to have my phone, but I'm not going to get caught up in a culture to where that is my identity and that is my life. And what happened is when you do that, and I don't have time to go through all it, but when you do that, you're going to find out that Corinthians shares about 4 or 5 different types of people to stay away from. When I listen to somebody ask a while ago, how do you know? I don't listen or go through social media trying to pick out, that's true. I pick out the person. Let me just give it to you, and then I'm not going to read them. This will be on the tape. So if you go to 1 Corinthians 15 and 33, you'll find there's people that are bad influences. If somebody's on there telling, you need to do this, and it could put me in jail, we're not hanging out. That's a bad influence. If you go to 2 John 1 and 10, it says false teachers. Somebody that's telling you something that ain't biblical. You're like, that's not, show me that in the Bible. Well, it's in there somewhere. No, you show it to me. If they can't show it to you, you just say, no, me and you ain't hanging out. You ain't going to go no preaching to me and you ain't got no scripture. The third group, he tells us in 1 Corinthians 5 and 11, he says, people that are professing to be Christians with sinful lifestyles, stay away from them. So if somebody's trying to tell you how to do right and how to do, telling you about how you need to be I used to pick and say, if somebody's trying to tell you how to be married and they're living with somebody and been divorced 4 times, that's probably not the best person to get you advice from. If they're living a sinful lifestyle, don't be hanging with that person. Well, I'm a Christian. Really? Couldn't tell it. That's between you and God. I just know this much. Your lifestyle does not match something I need to be hanging around. The fourth type of person is a divisive people. Titus 3, 10, and 11 describes people that are divisive, cause chaos, cause just about any news organization you listen to right now. Just about as soon as you turn it on, I have to do it because I start to watch news and I start yelling at the TV. My wife's like, turn it off. And I'm like, that just makes me so mad. And it's not so much what they're saying. It's just, I know the spirit. And it's like, and she's like, and I just turn it off. It's like, forget it. That was one of the God blessings. Because when I told you I lost some of them channels was news channels, which was great. Because I ain't been yelling at the TV half as much lately. In your life, you're going to have to decide, am I going to be in this social networking community? If you are, it's not going to be good. What they're promising you, always connected, yes, but not genuine relationships. Just like I started with, it's the difference between fast food and eating a real feast. Real relationships take time. You have to look somebody in the face. You got to sit with them. You got to talk with them. It takes time. It's hard. But the benefits of it can't be compared to anything else. I can watch fishing channels. I love to watch the fishing channel, the WFN, and I'm through. Love watching the fishing channels. I can watch them. I can watch Jimmy Houston, I can watch Bill Dance, I can watch anybody catching them fish, and they'll have the redfish tournament down in New Orleans and watch them guys on the front of them boats catching them reds, and I can go, whoa, man, that's cool. But I'm going to tell you something. It's nothing compared, any trip that I've ever taken with anybody. It don't even come close, Jerry, to me and you trying to catch those sheephead down there when they wouldn't bite. And we were sitting there. I still talk about that, trying to figure out how to make him a couple sheephead bite that day. I've watched all, but none of them will compare. Why? Because it takes time to have relationships. But they are priceless. You'll never get them from your phone. Best advice I'll ever give you is put that freaking phone down. Turn it off. Put it in your car. And have real relationships. I sit in my house many a times. People passing me, talking on their phones, and I'm just sitting there usually. But in your life, those are going to be the moment. Because I'm always waiting for the moment when Nathan finally flops down on the couch and he turns off his phone. It's like, what you been doing, buddy? And we'll sit there and talk for 20 or 30 minutes before he rolls over and goes back on the phone. And it's like, all right, I had that moment. I had that time. Because I know that those moments are the moments that me and him 20 years from now, we're going to remember. Any questions? Thanks for putting up with all my... If there's any subjects you'd like for me to deal with, I'm going to be dealing with a lot of different ones during this summer. And just teaching. That's all I'm doing, teaching. So we're going to have a lot of fun. But we'll just wade through stuff. Don't hesitate. I've always wanted to know about this. I know next week I'm supposed to be doing it'll probably take me 1 or 2 weeks to cover some of what's going on, these end time type stuff. I'm not going to preach on the rapture of the end time, but I am going to talk about what's going on and trying to put a lot of these pieces together. So if you know somebody that's been interested in that, I'm going to be doing that. And if they want to know more about it, if they're a man, they can show up at 6 o'clock on Tuesday mornings at God's Way. We'll be starting the book of Revelations. So if anybody wants to know more about the book of Revelation, starting 6 o'clock on Tuesday mornings, we'll be in there for the next 3.5 years. It'll be just probably half the tribulation period. We will be, that's 3.5 years. So we're going to be in the book of Revelation. So, if you'd like to be a part of that, know somebody, that's great. Guys, I love you. So good. Like I say, I'm sorry I carry on. It's just so good to have somebody to talk to. I've been preaching to cameras. I've been preaching to chairs with pictures on them. I don't do good with this social stuff. I like y'all. It's good to see y'all. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for just giving us a wake up. I know we all have to have phones. I'm not telling people to disconnect their phones, but I am telling them that, God, there is a marketing. There is a world system that wants more from them than they really ever want to give. There's a lot of wonderful things that our phones and media can do. A lot of great information. There's a lot of dangers. And Lord, give us the ability to not lose our relationship with you and real people in our life for something that isn't real. For something that's just not ever going to produce what we want. Father, I thank you for tonight, and I thank you for everybody that you'll help in this. Let them put those experiments in their life. Let them test and try themselves. Get stronger. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you.